God really has a design for our lives. And if we're really going to be at peace, we need to be people who can live within our means and be generous. And it was really important to be people who spend less. How many know that, we all know, I said this a few weeks ago, but the average Canadian spends almost $1.50 for every dollar they make. And I think the thing is that we think that buying something is going to fill a hole in our life. And the truth is only Jesus can do that. And so we're constantly searching. You know, and we're all guilty of it. I'll say I'm going to get a new iPhone and it's going to be awesome and it's going to make me feel good. And it does for like 10 minutes until it's set up and then it looks exactly like the old iPhone. And then it's still left with this empty feeling. Spend less. Second week, we talked about hope. And we talked about the importance of speaking life. That we hold such power in our tongue. And we need to be people who speak life, to be people that are encouraging, that speak life to those around us. I think even in our marriages, we have somewhere along the journey, we have decided that we can just say whatever we would like to the person that we are married to. And I think if we understood the power of the words that we say, that part of somebody dies when we say things that are really hurtful. So spend less, speak life. Last week we talked about joy. And how joy is not just an emotion like happiness, that we can have joy in really bad circumstances. But the idea behind when we talked about joy was to worry less. And it's been a long time since I've had this many people come up to me after a Sunday and be like, that was me, you were preaching to me. Did someone tell you? Did you talk to my wife or to my husband? And I'm an overthinker, I do this. But the truth is, we all have this, we worry. And what we need to remember is that what we worry about the most reveals where we trust God the least. It was weird, even this week. It was quite funny. So Sunday morning we spoke on worry, and you don't have to worry. So then Sunday afternoon, we stayed here for the afternoon to get ready for the dinner theater. So I just want to say something before I say any of this story about the dinner theater. I want to really take a moment to really thank everybody that was involved. All the actors and actresses spent so much time and energy away from their family, even with their family, learning their parts. And they have so much talent, so much skill, and they're amazing. And the musicians and the people that did the food, it was amazing just to be part of it. And I want to thank everybody that played a part from the bottom of my heart. So Sunday morning, I spoke on worry. And then Sunday afternoon came, and we were getting everything ready. So all the actors, they all stayed behind, and they were going to practice. And they're been so dedicated. And so they go through the first practice. It was so bad. Like, that's why, so I'm sitting there, I'm watching it with Penny. And we were there. And I was like, okay, I gotta get out of here. Like, the stress. I was like, Troy, you just talked about worry this morning. You need to relax, you need to go write this down. Things you can't control. And I was like, so I went to my office, I hid. That's what I do, okay? So I just went to my office. I'm not saying it's good, I just went and hid. Penny was out here, finally came, I was like, Penny. And she's like, Troy, just relax. So I went back in my office. So after the first run through, I heard Penny gather them all together. And I was like, oh boy, they're in for trouble now. I know what happens when Penny starts gathering people up. So she's like, all right, guys, I believe in you. She goes, we can't control everything, but one thing we can control is, I really need you to focus. So the very next practice, they were amazing. They did amazing, and then they did another one, they were amazing, and they did the show, and it was phenomenal. Anyways, so that night we're sitting, me and Penny, I was like, we're going to sit right here in the front so Penny could help if there's any lines and if there's anything I can do to help. So I'm sitting right up there, and I'm sitting, and every time there's like, as you know, if you were here, there's like a huge lineup of things that have to happen. So turn on the lights, do this, all these things. And so I'm sitting there, right beside Penny, and every time something's supposed to happen, so if Nathan was supposed to turn on the lights and fade this and start this, I was under my breath saying, okay, turn on the lights, let's go. Like, it was like 0.5 of a millisecond. And I'm like, and Penny, after about 10 minutes, Penny looked at me, and she's like, you're gonna really have to stop this. I said, stop what? She's like, you are stressing me out. And I'm like, what do I do? She goes, Troy, I can hear everything you're saying. Be quiet. Like, were you in church this morning or not? So anyways, so then we got in the car to drive home after everything was cleaned up and everybody helped on the driveway. We only live 2 kilometers from here. At about the 1 kilometer mark, Penny says to me, Troy, I said, yeah. I was thinking she's going to say how good I did. And she's like, Troy, I have something I want to say. I said, what? She's like, next year, during the dinner theater? I said, yeah. She's like, you're not allowed to sit with me. But she wasn't mean. She wasn't rude or anything. So I said, why? She's like, you are way too stressful. You're not allowed to sit with me. So like I said last week, I have some issues with worrying. But God is faithful. And Penny's kicked me out of a few things. She kicked me out of her small group once, and she kicked me out. Now I'm not allowed to sit with her at the dinner theater. So today we're talking about love. And on Christmas Eve, we'll wrap up Advent. Talk about love. And love is such a crazy word. And so as I prayed about the word love, it was always like, love unconditionally, or love this, or love that. And there was all these different things. And this phrase kept coming to me. And it's such a strange phrase, but this is what we're going to use today. Love sets limits. Now I know that sounds crazy, but bear with me. Love is such a crazy word, and I think it's crazy because it's so often misused. Because we love our kids, but we love hamburgers. Like, I'm pretty sure they're not the same thing, but we love our kids, we love hamburgers. Or we love our Michael Kors watches, and we love our church, or we love our snowmobile, or we love our car, or we love this, or we love snow, or we love this. And love is just this word that I think that we've lost the meaning of because we throw it around so loosely. And I think it's if you go back into the Bible, even into the original language of Hebrew and Greek in the Bible, there's a lot of words that are used for the word love that in English are all translated to love. And so I think that's one of the reasons that we use the word love for a lot of different things. And I won't spend a lot of time this morning, but there's a few, but I'll just name 5. But there's 5 words in the Bible that in the original language were translated love. Ahab, H-A-H-A-B. It's a Hebrew word for love. It describes this variety of intense, close emotional feelings. So here's some examples. So Abraham loved his son Isaac in Genesis 22:2. Isaac loved his son Esau, Genesis 25:8. And Israel loved Joseph more than all of his children in Genesis 37:3. It can be used in just that love, or it can be used in a more romantic manner. Isaac loved his wife Rebekah in Genesis 25:67. That's how the word was translated. And Jacob loved Rachel in Genesis 29:18. But Delilah manipulated Samson by challenging his love for her in the book of Judges. And so the word Ahab is translated in Hebrew from Ahab to love. That's one type. Then there's agapeo. And we're not going to spend a lot of time, but that's a Hebrew word. It's a Greek word, agapeo. It means unconditional love, preferential or preferred love that is chosen and acted out by our will, agapeo. It's not based on the goodness of the beloved or us, or upon this natural emotion. It's this benevolent or this giving love that always seeks the good of the beloved. This type of love is used in the Bible, agape, in the Christian community, because it flows directly from the love of God. Beloved, that's us. Agape, this is very common in not only the New Testament, but in other writings in those days, like the Septuagint. The word rarely focuses on an existing secular Greek manuscripts of that period. Agape is like this synonym for philia. It's love between two persons or people for God. Phileo, it's one of 4 Greek words for love. This one signifies friendship or fondness, delight, personal attachment. We are commanded to love with agape love in Matthew 5:44. But phileo love, but not phileo love, because feelings cannot be commanded. So we're told to love even when we don't feel like it. Phileo love is based on feelings, and that's not really what we're supposed to do. I mean, this is the best example of that, is Jesus asked Peter if he had unconditional agape love. But Peter said, and we remember the story if you've read the Bible, we don't have time to go into it today, but Jesus says, do you love me? And Peter says, yes, I love you. Do you love me? Yes, I love you. And it's like they're going back and forth, and it's so strange. But in the original language, Jesus is saying, do you agape me? And he's saying, yeah, I phileo you. Do you agape me? Phileo. And they're going back and forth because Jesus is asking for a certain kind of love, and Peter's not willing to give it. And so he's saying, no, I love you this other way. I mean, Peter's love deepens, and he wrote about agape love in later books. 5, Philadelphia, comes from the root word phileo, to love, and adelphos, brother. And that's why Philadelphia is known as the city of brotherly love. We love like a brother or sister. That's another kind of love. So just understanding this idea of love and all these different words that we all translate to love is part of the reason why we get confused and we use it and we've watered down what the word love means. I mean, just understanding love can be difficult. But what I think is more difficult than just trying to understand it, because you could spend time and study the words and figure it out, what kind of love you have for a hamburger and what kind of love you have for your wife and your kid. You can figure all that out. But what's really hard and challenging is, how does a loving Christian act? And what should we do, and what should we accept, and what should we say no to, or the behavior? For just a few examples, like what's the balance between truth and love? How do we set limits with people that we love? I mean, everybody in this room has had somebody that you love that has continued to abuse that love towards you. What do you do then? How do you know when it's time to end a relationship? Whether that's an actual boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, or whether that's a friendship, or whether that's another relationship. How do we know when it's time to end a relationship? Have you ever been there? I have. I've been there numerous times. When I was a youth pastor in my first church, there was a young man, and he was a really troubled young man, and I spent so much time trying to help him. And one Sunday, he would be at the church, at the service, worshiping and praising the Lord, and just amazing. And I remember the next day, on Monday, I would go to his house to pick him up. I would go to the little apartment thing that he would live in, and there would literally be an altar to Satan there. Like, I spent years trying to pour my life into him, and I got to a point where I just had to tell him, listen, I can't help you. I know that sounds so hard. And then years later, that young man ended his own life and killed the person he was in a relationship with. How do we know when it's time to say, you need help that I can't give you? I mean, what does forgiveness look like as a Christian? When a loved one hurts you or someone hurts you, what does that look like? I mean, the truth is, love is so much harder in some ways when we want to love like Jesus loved. Because Pat sang about it this morning. That there's no wall he won't kick down. There's no mountain he won't climb. There's no darkness that he won't go through. There's nothing that he won't do. His love is reckless and relentless for us. Because if we turn our back on him a million times and we turn around, he's still there. So that messes with our head. Because if God is that gracious to me, what do I do? If I could say what's been my hardest struggle in all of ministry, that's it. When to know when to hold them, and when to know when to fold them, as the artist says. But I think I just want to leave us with something, just some thoughts today. We got to remember that Jesus doesn't offer us just a love that gives us relief. He gives us a love that offers restoration. It's not just relief. It's restoration. When I was in Listowel, my last church, we were going to, me and a friend, we were going to renovate a shed in my backyard. Okay? Let me be clear. He was going to renovate. I was going to pass him things. So we go in the back, and this was an old, ratty, old-looking shed. And so it was in bad shape. So we go, and we start to look what we're going to have to do. And we had some siding that I had got from his dad that matched my house. And I'm like, we're going to put siding on this thing. But when we went back, and started to touch the walls and things, the shed was rotten. It was all built out of chipboard, and it was all rotten. And so it was huge holes rotted. So we took that all out. And at that time, we didn't have any money. And so my friend's like, Troy, we really should get some wood and plywood and redo this whole shed. And I'm like, no, I don't got money for that. He's like, what do you want me to do? I said, I want you to take the siding and put it on the outside so that it looks new. He's like, okay. So that's what we did. So we took out all the rotten wood. There was like a huge hole that like you could climb through it. Like it wasn't like, I wonder if a raccoon could get in there. Like all of us could have all climbed through there. So we just did it. We spent the day and we just put all this brand new siding. And you know what? When we stood back at the end of the day, it looked like we built a new shed. But it wasn't. We just got some relief. But we didn't get restoration. And so when you're trying to figure out how to help somebody, Troy, it's okay to offer relief. I mean, just this Christmas, we're going to offer some relief to about 50 families as a church. That's good. But what we really need to do is offer restoration. Because I don't know who the poor sap that bought that house from me was. That shed is definitely not standing anymore. Because his love is restoration, not just relief. And we can get caught in the trap where we're constantly trying to bring relief when people really need restoration. People change in one of two times: when they want to and when they have to. And they don't change otherwise, unless God changes their life radically. The truth is, if we don't set limits with people, they will never change, because our relief keeps them where they are. Did you know that loving someone without limits can often cause more damage than it costs good? It's so confusing because we think God loves me without limits. But you think of a child. I have some friends, none of them live here, okay, so just no one look around, that have some kids. And I don't even want to hang out with these friends because of their children. Because it's damaged because they haven't been disciplined. Everyone has that needy friend that's always like, tell me I'm awesome, tell me I'm awesome, tell me I'm awesome, tell me I'm awesome. Didn't I do it? We always have that needy friend, and we can give them relief by saying, you're awesome, you're awesome, you're awesome. But what they really need is restoration. They need to know that the God of the universe loves them. We all have that family member who's manipulative. We all have that broke friend that's always broke. You got 20 bucks? I need 100 bucks to make the end of the week. You got 20 bucks? You got 20 bucks? You think I need 20 bucks? No, they don't need 20 bucks. What they need is a budget. What is restoration? Restoration is working with people to restore them to God's God-given potential. This isn't doing something for them over and over and over. It's helping them, God restore them. We all have that person in our life that maybe struggles with addiction or insecurity, or they're broke all the time. And the tendency is to try to fix the problem. But that just brings relief. Studies tell us that if you took all the money in the world and distributed equally between everybody on the planet, within 5 years, the rich would be rich again and the poor would be poor again. Because it's just relief. I tell people this all the time. Money does not solve money problems. If you are not good with money and I gave you $50,000, that will not solve your problem. You'll feel good in a moment, but it will not solve your problem. Acts chapter 3 verse 1 says this. We're going to read it in a bit. But one day Peter and John were going up to the temple at the time of prayer at 3 p.m. Now there's a man that's crippled from birth. You got to remember, this guy was lame. He was born this way. His whole life he couldn't walk. He was crippled from birth. He was carried to the gate of the temple called Beautiful, where he was put every day to beg for those that went into the temple. You got to think about this. Every day someone went to his house, picked him up, and carried him to the temple. He's crippled. And put him there. And then every day somebody picked him up and brought him home. And they believed they were helping him. But all they were doing was bringing him relief. He could beg a little, spend a little. Beg a little, spend a little. And this guy was really smart, though, because there was 3 places where people would often beg. The highways, there was long lines of people traffic. Beggars would go out there to beg. 2, they would beg in front of the homes of wealthy people. They thought that wealthy people would give more. And number 3, they would beg in front of the temple. And the reason this was the best place to beg is because everybody went there at a certain time of the day. And the Pharisees, the religious people, loved to give publicly. So they would walk up and they would give so everybody could see. One day Peter and John were going to the temple at the time of prayer at 3 in the afternoon. Now a man crippled from birth was being carried to the temple gate called Beautiful, where he was put. Every day he began to beg those going into the temple courts. When he saw Peter and John about to enter, he asked them for money. Peter looked straight at him, as did John. And Peter said, "Look at us." So the man gave them his attention, expecting to get something from them. Then Peter said, "Silver and gold have I not, but what I have, I give you. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, walk." Taking him by the right hand, he helped him up, and instantly the man's feet and his ankles became strong. He jumped to his feet and he began to walk. Then he went with them to the temple courts, walking and jumping and praising God. Acts chapter 3, 63. Everyone else was giving them relief, and these men gave him restoration. Sometimes we keep people stuck by giving them relief over and over again, when we need to lead them to the one that can restore them. Peter and John could have given a few cents, and there would have been nothing wrong with that. But they led him to the one. The reason why we like to do relief is because it's easy. Restoration takes a long time. So here's a couple of limits. If you're here and you need to say, "Troy, this is for me. I need to set some limits in my life." Here's limit number 1. You need to set a limit that I will give you what you need, not what you want. I will give you what you need, not what you want. This is what Peter did. The crippled guy says, "I want money." He says, "I'm not giving you money. But what I have, I give you." People are going to ask you for what you think they need. They'll say, "Oh, I need money. I need money." No. "I need you to make me feel special." Only one person can really fill that hole in someone's life. "I need you to do this because it's an emergency and I didn't plan ahead." No. Limit number 2. This one's really hard, but here it is. I will not continue to rescue you. Limit number 2, I will not continue to rescue you from your consequences. I think what we need to understand is God set up a system that we reap what we sow. That there are consequences for our sinful actions and for our good actions. Galatians 6:7 says this, "Do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked, for a man reaps what he sows. What we put in the ground, we take out." Example, we rescue our kids too much. We need to let our children suffer the consequences of their action. I'm not saying, "Oh, well, turn on all the burners of the stove and just let them have at it and whatever gets burned." That's not what I mean. But here's some advice for all of us parents. Stay out of their friendships. Stay out of their relationships. Don't get mad at their teachers when your kids disobeyed at school. The news is full of these stories. Right now there's an epidemic where parents are going to job interviews with their young adult kids that are 20, 22, 25 years old, and their parents are going with them so that they can help them in the interview. A kid recently vandalized a school. He made a huge mess. A janitor made the student help him clean it up. Help him. The parent lost their mind. Went to the school, kicked a huge fuss, took to social media. You can look it up. And everyone's writing underneath, "How dare the janitor?" dare the janitor? No, consequences. Consequences. It's like the story of the prodigal son in Luke 15 as the worship team comes. The son said, I want to go, I want to party. I want to go out with the girls and smoke this and do this. I want to have a good time. And the father just gives him his inheritance and says, you can go. And one day he wakes up in a pig pen. The dad was there when the boy came home. We're going to be talking about this story in depth later, early in the new year. But often we think, if you really loved me, you would rescue me. No. If we really love you, we would restore you. We need to learn to say, because I love you, I'm not going to rescue you. Because I love you that much. I'm not going to interfere with these consequences that you have in your life. And I know that sounds hard. And I know that it's for me. Number 3. We need to remember, limit number 3, that Jesus is always the answer. And you're not Jesus. Every pastor, to some degree, I can't say every pastor, but a lot of pastors, they have what they call a Messiah complex. And they think that they can fix everybody. Psalm 70 verse 5, "Yet I am poor and needy. Come quickly to me, O God. You are my help and my deliverer. O Lord, do not delay." See, money is not the answer. Jesus is the answer. And that's what Peter and John said to him. But don't get too quick to judge. Because we're all needy. We all need a Savior. We all, to some degree, look for others to solve our problem. But the truth is, God is the restorer. People often say, why is change so hard? I think one of the reasons is we're often just looking for relief. When we really need to go to the potter. And if necessary, let him break it all down and restore us again. We all need to be the hands and feet of Jesus. But we all need to point people to the restorer, not just relief. A few Christmases ago, there was a lady contacted me. It was late in the Christmas season, and she's like, we fell on hard times. Is there any way you could help? And I just really felt we should help this lady. So we did. As a church, we were able to help. We didn't do everything, but we were able to give some relief. But every year since then, that lady has contacted us to help bring relief to others. See, it's not that relief is bad. We're going to give gifts to about 50 people this Christmas. There's nothing wrong with that. We're going to help many families together this Christmas season. That's relief. That's okay. But it needs to always point to the restorer. And his name is Jesus. So this Christmas season, be kind. Be generous. But be someone who always points people to Jesus. Because we can get caught up in the emotion. And we can actually help people for the wrong reasons because it makes us feel good. And we can just bring relief to them and relief to us. But what we really need to be is people who bring people to Jesus. this Christmas season, remember that love, it sets limits. And those limits are only intended not to let us off the hook, but to point people towards the only true one that can make a difference. So we're going to pray, and there's someone coming to make a presentation just for a few minutes. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for who you are and what you've done. God, I pray that you would always use us to bring relief to people, but that we would know that when we should say, silver and gold have I not, but what I do have, I give to you. And his name is Jesus. God, we thank you in your name.